Welcome to the Comfy Chairs, a podcast from 123 Limited. This is Kate. There are a few questions that come up again and again in conversations with leaders, and two of them are especially connected. One is about how to help teams grow and learn over time, and the other is about how to stay grounded as a leader, especially when times are tough. In this comfyHQ episode, I'm digging into both. We'll talk about how to foster a culture of learning and why that's about more than just offering training. And we'll look at resilience, flexibility, and stability instead of grit and toughness. How can leaders foster a culture of continuous learning within their teams? Providing learning opportunities on the job is just one way to recognize, engage, and grow your team. When employees are able to stretch into new responsibilities, attend training, or apply new ideas in real time, they often feel more valued, trusted, and capable. But transforming this into a true culture of lifelong learning, that's something different. It's deeper, more powerful, more sustainable. Lifelong learning isn't a program. It's not a benefit. It's a mindset that becomes woven into the fabric of your team's identity. And it can't be faked. If you want to lead a learning culture, you have to live it first. I have a framework I want to share to help you think about this more intentionally. It's what I call the learning engine, the mindsets and skills for lifelong learning: empathy, curiosity, courage, and endurance. Let's take a closer look. Learning is fueled by empathy. Empathy allows us to move beyond our own assumptions. It opens us up to the knowledge, challenges, and experiences of others. When we listen deeply, observe generously, and work to understand different perspectives, we begin to learn not just what others know, but how they know it. Empathy gives us access to stories, struggles, and wisdom that would otherwise be out of reach. In a team setting, this means encouraging people to stay open and curious about each other, to seek out diverse viewpoints, to understand before reacting. It means creating space for people to share what they know and how they got there. Empathy makes learning personal and relational. Learning is sparked by curiosity. Empathy helps us notice, and curiosity pushes us to explore. When we pay attention to what empathy reveals, those gaps in our understanding, the systems we don't fully grasp, the people whose experiences are different from ours, curiosity steps in. It asks, why? What if? How does that work? What else is possible? Curiosity leads to investigation, experimentation, and connection. And it doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It grows in environments where asking questions is welcomed, not shut down. Where leaders say things like, "What do you think?" and "Let's try it and see." As a leader, you can encourage curiosity by modeling it yourself. Don't just give answers. Ask questions. Invite exploration. Let your team see you wrestling with ideas and seeking new information. Because curiosity catches on. This is where the work gets harder. Curiosity leads to experimentation, but experiments come with risk. We won't always get it right. Sometimes we will fail, and this is where courage becomes essential. Courage sustains us when we feel uncertain. It helps us stay in the discomfort of not knowing, of trying something new, of admitting that we don't understand yet. Courage helps us reframe failure, not as an endpoint, but as part of the learning process. And as a leader, your courage makes it safe for others to try. When you admit mistakes, take ownership, or try something publicly that might not work, you're sending a clear message. We are allowed to learn here. Finally, learning is propelled by endurance. Over time, new knowledge and experience will build confidence. And that confidence gives us the fuel we need to keep going, to continue engaging, exploring, and evolving. That's endurance. Endurance isn't about working nonstop or pushing through pain. It's about staying connected to your sense of purpose. It's about knowing that learning is never done and that each small gain builds our capacity for the next. As a leader, you don't just need to manage your team's output, you need to tend to their energy, motivation, and momentum. Encouragement matters, recognition matters, helping people connect their learning to a larger purpose matters. So, where do you start? Start by maintaining your own engine. Follow your curiosity, be courageous, and keep going even when it's hard. Share what you're exploring. Be honest about the moments you didn't know what to do and what you discovered in the process. Learning often leads to mistakes, so one of the most important things you can do is normalize that. Make trial and error the norm wherever you can. Psychological safety, feeling safe enough to take risks, make mistakes, and ask questions without fear of punishment, that's table stakes for a learning culture. Here are a few simple practices you can put in place. Think about job shadowing, simulations, role-playing, and letting less experienced employees take on manageable portions of larger projects. All of these give people space to try without fear of large-scale failure. Use pre- and post-mortems. Before a big initiative, talk through what could go wrong and how to mitigate it. Afterwards, reflect on what worked and what didn't. Treat mistakes as data, not as blame. Encourage experimentation. Give people room to test new approaches. When someone tries something creative or different, talk about what they learned, even if it didn't go as planned. Reward and recognize calculated risk. Call out the process, not just the outcome. I appreciated the way you tested that approach is as valuable as congrats on hitting the goal. You want to support formal learning too. Not all learning is experiential, so make it easier for people to pursue training, education, and skill development. This could include finding in-house programs and making time for people to attend, getting fluent in your organization's tuition assistance and educational benefits, and talking regularly about training opportunities so they don't feel like a special exception. They're just how things work around here. Allow employees to observe, practice, and share what they learn. This approach reinforces confidence, builds competence, and helps team members see themselves as both learners and teachers. This is also a reminder that you don't have to do it all. You can foster a learning culture by getting your team involved at every step. Let them support each other and let them lead learning moments. This lets them grow together. Because lifelong learning isn't just a value to name, it's a culture to cultivate. And like any culture, it's shaped by what you model, reward, and normalize. Remember, learning is not a detour from the work, it is the work. How can leaders develop resilience and mental toughness? This is a big one. Leaders want to be dependable, steady, and strong when challenges arise. They want to show up for their teams with presence and clarity even when things feel messy, and they want to feel resilient. I'd like, though, to offer a small shift in language. Rather than resilience or mental toughness, I prefer to think in terms of flexibility and stability. There is nothing wrong with either resilience or mental toughness per se. They're well-intentioned and widely used. But I often hear them used in ways that imply stoicism or even a kind of gritted teeth aggressiveness. Flexibility and stability, on the other hand, they offer a different flavor. Strength, preparedness, adaptability. The dichotomy of being both flexible and stable also alludes to the inherent paradox involved in facing and leading through uncertainty. Being able to move and flex while still grounded on a stable foundation. This framing also invites a more nuanced and human conversation, one that's less about being tough and more about being steady, open, and prepared. So, with my word preferences out of the way, let's talk about how you develop these leadership characteristics. Today's first question is actually wildly applicable here. A learning or growth mindset is one of the best ways to develop and maintain flexibility and stability. Exposing yourself to new experiences and ideas increases your mental capacity to grow and evolve. I'm talking about neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to change in response to learning, which is crucial for adaptability and critical thinking. It's also essential for learning and memory. So, lifelong learning essentially creates a continuous loop of making you increasingly flexible and stable. When you take on new challenges, expose yourself to unfamiliar situations, yes, it's uncomfortable, but it's also building your capacity to flex. It's making your foundation stronger. And when you lead with a learning mindset, you also make it safer for others to show up with questions, ideas, and mistakes. You're not just resilient yourself, you're helping your whole team grow stronger together. But let's not pretend this is all internal. Whether you call it resilience or flexibility, it's not a solo act. If you want to build these skills over time, you need support. Draw on the experience, insight, and encouragement of others. No one navigates change, pressure, or hardship in isolation, not successfully anyway. There's a short, insightful book that explores this idea and other facets of personal resilience called Managing Change with Personal Resilience by Linda Hoops and Mark Kelly. It offers practical tools for understanding your own change preferences, adapting under stress, and building resilience in community. If you're looking to deepen your personal or team-wide understanding of what resilience can look like, I highly recommend it. So please look for a link in the show notes. Mind how you talk to yourself about yourself. Your internal narrative plays a powerful role in your external capacity. If you're constantly telling yourself that you're not handling things well, or that you should be stronger, faster, better, guess what? Your brain believes you. That negative self-talk can undermine your confidence and diminish your resilience in real time. So one very practical thing you can do is tune into your internal soundtrack. Another book I love on this topic is called Soundtracks by Jon Acuff. He describes how the stories we repeat to ourselves shape what we believe and what we become. He puts it this way: your thoughts are the internal soundtracks of your life. If you don't choose them on purpose, you'll end up listening to whatever plays automatically. So learning to pause and replace unhelpful internal narratives with more accurate, compassionate, and constructive ones isn't just a feel-good exercise. It's foundational to staying grounded when things get hard. Try asking yourself, what am I telling myself about this situation? Is it true? Is it helpful? Is it kind? What would I tell a friend in the same spot? That mindset shift towards self-compassion and truthfulness can be a game changer. Build habits that support your stability. Flexibility is strengthened through challenge, but stability is sustained through habit. Consistent, grounded routines can act as anchors in times of stress or uncertainty. This might include sleep, movement, and hydration. And I know these are obvious, but they're often the first to go. Practice regular reflection. Think about journaling, voice notes, or even quick check-ins with yourself. What's working? What's not? What do I need today? Create connection rituals. Have lunch with a trusted peer. Do an end-of-week check-in with your team. Spend time with people who remind you who you are. These aren't about perfection. They're about presence. A final note: resilience is not endurance alone. Sometimes what gets labeled as resilience is really just survival mode. It can look like skipping breaks, ignoring what your body and mind are trying to tell you, and that's not resilience. That's depletion. Real resilience, real flexibility and stability, they mean knowing when to pause, when to delegate, when to ask for help, and when to rest. You don't need to prove that you're invincible. You do need to build the awareness and support that help you recover, reflect, and respond when things get hard. Thanks for joining me for this episode. Whether you're thinking about how to foster more learning on your team, build stability in uncertain times, or just show up a little differently tomorrow, remember that leadership is a practice, not a destination. These questions don't have quick fixes, but they do have starting points, and that's often all we need. If this conversation resonated with you, I'd love to stay connected. You can subscribe to the newsletter for more reflections, tools, and ideas to support your leadership practice every other Tuesday, right in your inbox. You'll find a link in the show notes. And if you have a question for comfyHQ, I'd love to hear it. Just follow that link in the show notes. Comfy Chair's Hard Questions episodes drop every other week, right between our deep dive conversations on leading and learning. Next week, I'll be back in the comfy chairs with a conversation about asking better questions with guest Amber Johnson.